2H is all about writing linear inequalities. So we've done equations and we've done regular inequalities, but when we do these linear inequalities, we're going to be using two variables. The TEK says the student is expected to write linear inequalities in two variables given a table of values, a graph, and a verbal description. We're going to focus mainly on the verbal description, as writing from a graph and a table of values again is in other videos, and the only difference between writing equations and writing inequalities we will go over in verbal description, and it's just a small detail. So the question might look like this. Okay, an ice cream truck can carry at most 35 gallons of ice cream. The table shows the inventory on the truck. Write an inequality that represents the numbers of gallons of chocolate and vanilla ice cream that can be on the truck. Now, there are important words in here we're going to have to go over. At most. At most is an inequality word. If this were an equation, it would say it can carry exactly 35 gallons of ice cream because it would be equal to. This one says at most. So that means that it can have only up to 35 gallons. Can it have 36? No. Can it have 35? Yeah. Can it have 34? Yes, because it at most can be 35. So what we're going to do is we're going to translate that at most to less than, wrong pen, less than or equal to 35. Because the biggest it can be, the most it can be is 35 gallons. Okay? That's the hardest part, is translating the inequality word to one of the four symbols that it goes with. Other than that, all we have to do is do what we do for writing equations. We know that the amount of chocolate plus the amount of vanilla ice cream on this truck can be at most 35 gallons. And that is a linear inequality that we need to be able to write. This is the hardest part of this, is determining which of the four inequality symbols your words in your verbal description go to. Now what might happen is we're going to be given a graph sometimes. Now here's your four symbols, you can see them in the corner, and there are words that translate to each of these: at most, at least, no more than, no less than, and we need to know all of those. But we also need to know what they look like on a graph. There's a whole other video for actually doing the graphing, but we're going to be looking at a graph and writing it in this video. Now, we've done this for you, but if you notice, this graph starts at 3, it's the y-intercept, so that's why there's a 3 right here, and it has a slope of going down 1 over 1. So it has a -1 slope. Perfect. That's writing an equation. But instead of putting an equal sign right here, we have this symbol, because it is not just a single line that provides our solutions. Anything in the shaded region is considered a solution. So we need everything that is below or less than that line, including the line itself, because the line is solid, which means it works. That's where the or equal to part comes in. When you have a solid line, it has the line underneath it, and if it's underneath, it's less than. So if we look at this other one, the one drawn in red, it begins at -2, that's why there's a -2 right here, and it has a slope of going up 1 over 1, which is why there's a slope of 1. This time it's a dashed line, so it's not equal to. It won't have that line underneath it, but it is bigger. It's above, it's greater. So we're gonna have to use the greater than symbol. Okay, less than is your left hand, greater than is your right hand. You should match those up. And we just write it just like we write an equation, just changing the symbol based on how it's shaded and what kind of line you use. We have a few things on the supplemental aid that will help. Less than, equal to, or greater, which is here in the leg, shows you what they look like. This is less than. It looks like your left hand, so if you hold up your left hand, which I'm mirrored right now, so it doesn't work, but it looks like a less than. If you hold up your right hand, so it's greater, that's what the greater than sign is going to look like, except that I'm mirrored, so you can't really see what I'm doing. Additionally, we have inequality guy on here that has all of the symbols. The dashed line goes with the symbols without the line underneath it, and the solid line goes with the symbols with the line underneath it. So again, these are little helpful hints and tricks on the supplemental aid that might be there to help you. So for an example, it says to write an inequality that represents the graph. We'll do this whole thing, okay? Well, we need to find a slope and a y-intercept, because I always need a slope and y-intercept to write a line. Well, the y-intercept, boom, right there, is 1. And the slope, if I find another good point, I can go up 2 and over 1, or rise over run of 2. So if I set this up, I'm gonna skip the symbol in the middle for a second, but it's gonna be y something 2x plus 1. I just need to figure out what inequality sign will go here. 2 questions. Above or below? Well, this is shaded in above the line, above it. So I know it's going to be greater because that's above, dashed or solid. This is a dashed line, which means I don't want to put the line underneath it. And in fact, this is the inequality that represents that graph. Y is greater than 2x plus 1. Anything in that shaded region is considered a solution. We empower, we impact, we love. We are Skeeter Nation.